Hey, just in time for the holidays, what if you didn't have to worry about any of that credit card debt? If you're feeling stuck making the minimum payments and you don't want to have to put Christmas on a credit card, we can help at savewithconrad.com. We routinely help our listeners save hundreds of dollars a month. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Well, Conrad, I'm okay. I'm feeling kind of down today a little bit. I don't know.
What you got going on? You got a case of the Mondays?
Well, no, I was missing my little buddy Bug today for some reason. And just some days it just sticks with you, you know? And I was thinking about him when I was walking the other dogs, and I was thinking, man, gone too soon. And realistically, I don't want to drag us down. He's not gone too soon. He lasted 14 years, and which is quite a long time for a dog. And anyway, but I feel great now. It's great being with you, and I'm excited about our podcast today.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to be doing something that we haven't done before. We're going to be watching a little Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Tony. Will this be the first time you've seen some PWG?
Well, it'll be the first time I've seen the entire show. I've seen clips.
Okay.
But the first time I've seen entire matches. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it in many, many ways. We've had some very, very good things to watch, events to watch here for the last couple of months, and watching things that I was unfamiliar with in the 18 years that I was away from the business, the sport.
I can't wait for us to watch some PWG. We hope you'll watch along with us here at whwmonday.com. That's going to take you right to our YouTube. It's totally free, and it's no longer a second screen experience. We're going to be watching the program here on YouTube at whwmonday.com. But Tony, last week, people who were tuned into AEW Dynamite saw something that I don't think they'll ever forget. Of course, I'm talking about the closing scene where we saw Tony Schiavone, but really it was Hangman Adam Page. You got to tell us about this, Tony.
Yeah, Hangman was a very, very good angle. We were I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. And Hangman had talked to me about this for a couple of weeks, and I was like, sure, whatever you want to do, it's fine. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure what day it was going to happen. He had talked about it for a couple of weeks, then all of a sudden hit me. Of course, the Halloween edition, right? And we kind of worked on the exchange of the tie and the glasses and the jacket, and we both had white shirts on, and he had kind of put a little padding on his midsection. And I said, hang on just 1 second. I don't think I'm that fat. And he said, no, I don't think so either. But he said, but I'm going to put this padding on. It's okay. Then he was saying, he said, I need to watch you walk to see how you walked. And I was walking backstage, and he was watching me, and then he would start walking. I said, you walk like an old fucking man. I don't walk like an old man. Then I thought, well, I am an old man, so maybe I do. So it happened. We had a lot of people help us out. And to be very honest with you, I was kind of skeptical about it, as I am many things that we do. But hey, he pulled it off, man. He really did. And congratulations for that. The fans really popped, and it ended up being pretty cool.
Fans absolutely loved it. I loved it. And I know we can't technically show the footage right now here on the program, but I do think that we've got a clip of Speedball Bailey interviewing Tony Schiavone. Let's take a look.
Oh, this is my first time seeing you around.
Speedball, I'm Tony Schiavone.
Tony Schiavone?
Tony Schiavone, you prepared for your match tonight? It should be a great night in the history of our sport.
Oh, wow, we're getting an interview from Tony Schiavone live on the blog.
Damn right we are.
You sound different.
Yeah, it's, I can't do his accent.
At all?
No, not remotely, no. It's half JR, half just idiot, I guess.
It's pretty...
I got to work on it, but the gate, I've got the gate down. You want to see the gate? This is
Yeah.
This is this.
Oh, wow. Excellent. So the one thing the one thing that you don't have correct is Tony Schiavone, and I think that's going to be a giveaway for tonight, so you better watch out. But he always has excellent sneakers.
Oh, yeah. These are the shits.
Yes, I don't know. I know someone who has a pair of Travis Scotts for sale.
Oh, really?
Maybe we could check in with him.
Okay.
But I don't know. Anyways, I think you're doing a great job.
Hook me up. Thank you.
Let's go ask.
Tony, you took issue with the walk. You didn't think he had your walk down right there?
Hey, he did have it, as a matter of fact, I guess. And I told him, I said, I had this, I have this neck thing that my neck was operated on back in 1995. And so because of it, I said, my neck kind of leans to the left a little bit. He said, yeah, I've noticed. Okay, good. So he had it down, I guess. There you go. And
I thought he did a terrific job. And it's funny, if someone were to try to copy your walk, maybe they could have been observing you on that particular show. If you were live in the arena, you may have seen Tony, with an interesting walk. Let's take a look. What we got to know, Tony? Are you okay?
Oh, of course I'm okay. I fell on a guy. I fell on a piece of gabagool. And you notice how the security came to get me, and I was walking briskly to the back because I'm thinking, man, I got to get this changed quickly. So, yeah, there you go. By the way, I'm the one that put the music to that, just to let you know.
Hey, you know what? Can we just get a round of applause for Tony Schiavone's editing skills here? Do you have an applause button over there, Tony?
I got it now.
I mean, how about that? Just saying. We're pretty excited. We're going to be watching a little Pro Wrestling Guerrilla action today. But before we do, we want to remind you that this episode and all of our episodes are brought to you by Blue Chew. It's time to enter the room. Wiener first. Blue Chew is not just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave you downstairs a pep talk at a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. Have you ever tried to tuck in a submarine? Guys, we're not just talking about your performance. We're talking about your legacy or your third leg. Let's see. Give our group chat something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Go discover your options right now at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code WHW at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Tony, whenever we watch some of our favorite old school wrestling here from yesteryear, every now and again, we'll call an audible. You get one of your fancy friends in here and join us and talk about some wrestling. And I think you may have picked up the bat phone again this week. What's going on, Tony?
Yeah, I got a lot of fancy friends, but none as fancy as the one we're going to introduce. It's no better way to watch PWG than one of the founders of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And let's bring him in right now. Without a doubt, the very best commentator in the business today. And my buddy, here's Excalibur.
All right. How
All
about
right.
that?
What an
With
intro.
the mask and everything. I love it. I'm so excited. Of course, he lives in the mask. We know that.
Of course
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah, of
I had
course.
dinner in the mask just a few moments ago. But no, thank you guys for having me on. This is I've been wanting to do this for a while, been wanting to introduce Tony to PWG, and what better way to do it than alongside both of you guys. And I do have to peel back the curtain a little bit. Hangman this last Wednesday came in and he sat down with me and he said, "Hey, do you know of any Tony Schiavone isms?" And I said, well, the thing he says the most is, "You're right, Excalibur." But then the thing he says the second most is that this is one of the great nights in our sport. And I'm glad to see that he actually used it in the interview with Speedball. So, and then also tape machines are rolling, but he
Yes,
didn't have time
right.
to get that one in.
Right. You're exactly right, Excalibur. We did.
See?
We need one of those counters here on the program today in the corner.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us. Really, really, it means a lot. So we're really excited about watching some PWG, and I looked at the list of matches that or the show that you had recommended, and we've got some talent, I guess, our fans who've been watching AEW very, very familiar with.
Yeah. So in kind of going through and doing the deep dive into, what would be a good show, a good introduction to AEW, or excuse me, to PWG, was somebody or a show that had a lot of people that checked a lot of boxes, whether they're for AEW, WWE, NXT, what have you, that somebody that was unfamiliar with PWG might see some familiar faces and be inclined to check it out. And in doing my research or my prep for this show, I found that there are 80 people,
Wow.
80 employees of All Elite Wrestling that have worked at least one match in PWG. 80.
Wow. That's staggering.
Yeah. And I didn't do the other company, but I'm sure there's quite a few from over there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings up this point when you say from over there. I know a lot of fans in the tribalism that has become wrestling fans like to see us prosper and them fail, or them prosper and us fail. But the guys and the girls not like that, because they're all friends, right? And they want everybody to be able to have a job. And I think that's really that really says a lot for our business and the guys and girls that work in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, for me, anytime I'm in town, the same time somebody else is in town, maybe they live there, maybe we're just passing through on a layover or something like that, we'll always, stop to get lunch, get drinks, something like that, just to catch up with one another. And because, I mean, there was, this independent era of that we're going to be kind of looking at today, we were all, staying 7-8 to a room, on these independent shows. And so we got to spend a lot of time with each other.
Sure.
And, not so much anymore, but so those moments when we can spend time with each other, those are important to us.
Yeah. The camaraderie is special. It really is. I've talked so much about road trips, how back in the WCW days, and even here in AEW are great, and how we have so much fun. And I like to drive, and I know you do too, but it's just a great, it's wrestling. The camaraderie is just absolutely wonderful. All right.
Yeah, I was a little jealous of yours and Nigel's bonding session on the way from McAllen, Texas to San Antonio. But we'll address that on Wednesday when I see you in person.
Yeah. Yeah, it was me and Nigel and Robert Evans. Robert Evans, who just knows Robert Evans is kind of like you. He knows everything, he just knows everything. He's just very well read, and it was more of me just listening to Nigel and Robert talk than it was anything else. So it was a great 3.5 hour trip. And I do want to say, Excalibur, that was the first time ever. I probably shouldn't say this, because I am going to turn in the receipt for the hotel. It was the first time ever I got to the hotel in time to check in and turn around and get on the shuttle to the airport. I've never done that before. So, but hey, it's wrestling, right? It's road trips. So there you go.
Somebody's got to pay for it, and it better not be you.
Yeah, better not be me. Exactly. By the way, hello to everybody who's giving us their feedback here on what happened when with us live. We got some questions about for Excalibur that we will get to, but we probably should roll tape, shouldn't we, Conrad?
I love that idea. Excalibur, if you don't mind, tell everybody what show we're going to be watching and how you landed on this one for this to be the show that we're going to review today.
So we're going to be watching Steen Wolf from 2011, which is a not necessarily unremarkable PWG show, but it was I think kind of flew under the radar because it didn't have like the big international presence that some of the later Battle of Los Angeles tournaments had, but it was a very special show for me because it was the first ladder match between Kevin Steen and El Generico. And before this match, they had probably wrestled, I would say, 70, 80 times in their career,
Right.
and not counting training and spending the time in the car or in the hotel and everything like that. And so, they had just about every sort of permutation of a match that they could, but this was the first ladder match. And then also in doing so, in my show prep, I found a common theme, which I haven't asked him about it, but if I had to guess, Super Dragon, who was the booker, the creative force behind Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, he probably had this in mind. But it was a show where a lot of the matches you'll see are matches where the guys are married, so to speak, where they're longtime rivals, like Kevin Steen and El Generico, Ricochet and Chuck Taylor, and Rocky Romero and TJP, and then teams that would go on, or people that would go on to be kind of married and closely associated with each other. In Future Shock, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and the Young Bucks. So I thought there was a lot of great, synergy and symmetry there.
All right.
Well, we're excited to watch it. We're going to be watching Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Steen Wolf. I believe it went down October 22nd, 2011. And Tony, do you want to give us a special countdown today to get into the playback?
Well, I don't have a special countdown. I went and listened to DJ Turnup's special countdowns, and I thought, damn, he is so the way he talks and the way he edits our stuff together, it makes it sound like we cuss a lot. And I don't think we really do we?
I don't fucking think so at all.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to do a regular old countdown. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, how about the new logos? We got the little PWG logos. Excalibur, what went into making these logos? It's always been a genius logo.
The man with the most magnificent ring jacket.
Oh, wait a second. So the thing about Pro Wrestling Guerrilla 2 is that I would do the play-by-play and color commentary oftentimes for the entire show. Oh. And it was I haven't listened to these shows in a long time, so actually I'm dreading the audio playback. But also I wish Dave Silva had asked me for the actual logo file and I could have sent it to him, and rather than something he found on Google image search. But that's that's for another day.
Well, that's how Dave works. Look at a young Rocky Romero, would you? Holy smokes. And I say young, I mean, it wasn't that long ago.
I mean, 2011, that was, 14 years ago.
Yeah, 14 years ago. Well, 14 years will age you.
Yeah.
This is a pretty famous building too, isn't it, Excalibur?
Yeah, this is the American Legion Hall, number 308, in Reseda, California. It was PWG's home for about 10 years straight. It became, iconic just through the fact that we ran there consistently and so many great matches happened there. But it was something that was it was a very difficult building to run in, mostly because the guy that managed it, Larry, affectionately known as Legion Larry, was a grade A #1 prick. And it was almost like he didn't want to make money every time we would ask him if we could run a show there. And so it was bittersweet, but it was a place that ultimately we came to love. And I remember the first time that Will Ospreay walked into the Legion. First, he said to me, and Tony, I know you get this a lot, but I was probably 31 when this happened to me. He said, "I grew up listening to you."
Oh,
and that destroyed a little piece of my soul. And then he looked around and he said, "I can't believe I'm finally here. This is, this is the mecca of pro wrestling. I've watched this place, matches take place in this building so often." And it was right after a torrential rainstorm in Los Angeles where the roof was leaking. There was black mold and everything. And he is just looking around completely amazed. And I'm horrified that we have to run a show in there in about 6 hours.
Wow. Well, that says a lot about your promotion.
It really
as far as
does.
wrestlers are concerned. It really does, Excalibur.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't set out to be as influential as we ended up being. I don't think anyone did, but it just sort of, oh, there's Rick Knox getting a hammer throw into the corner, TJ Perkins over the top. But yeah, it was not something we meant to do. It was just something that sort of happened. And PWG eventually became a place where if you were an independent guy, especially if you were, from outside of the United States, if you got your foot in the door at PWG, that all of a sudden meant that indies, not just around the country, but around the world, would start booking you. And that could be a life-changing experience. And I bet if you asked, a large portion of the 80 people that I came up with, and there may be more, there may be a few that I missed that work for AEW today, I would say that they would probably tell you they couldn't be there without, PWG in some form or factor.
We are watching TJ Perkins and Rocky Romero, and we're talking with Excalibur, and we're watching PWG. So in the booking of PWG, you mentioned Super Dragon. Did you assist him in the booking and as far as bringing in talent?
Somewhat, but I wouldn't even want to begin taking credit for it. He had such an incredible eye for talent and such an incredible mind for wrestling, that he was able to spot somebody that could be, difference maker. For instance, this show that we're watching is the first time that Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly will have wrestled on a PWG show. And they ended up becoming, for a long time, synonymous, not just with PWG, but with Ring of Honor as well. Both right. O'Reilly and Cole became PWG world champions in their time. So he was somebody that I don't think gets a lot of credit for what he contributed. PWG gets the credit, but really a lot of it goes to Super Dragon.
Okay, why don't we turn up the volume here a little bit and listen to Excalibur do his play-by-play in color.
Oh, no.
In the tree floor once again. Builds up that flight of steam. Romero can't get himself out and eats a drop kick to the face. Lateral press from Perkins only gets a 2 count, says Rick Knox, senior official here in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Now, fans, I'm not sure if you can see it from your angle, but the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Championship title has been suspended over the ring the entire evening and will continue to do so until the champion, either new or defending, pulls the title down in the main event matchup. European uppercut by Perkins, drop to hold by Romero. Romero running up the rope, drop kick to the side of the head. Great reversal by Rocky Romero. Looked like Perkins was going to gain the upper hand.
I want to say this, Excalibur. I thought you sound great.
I agree. Yeah,
you're not the Excalibur that we know now. That's the know-it-all asshole. But no, you're not the Excalibur that we that's as somebody talking in your screaming in your ear all the time. But you're doing a hell of a job there.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yeah, this was just me kind of shouting into a vacuum. We had a headset that was he was feeding directly into the hard cam. And that's how we did the audio. You caught a look of the stage where the hard cam is. Our desk is immediately to the left of that, and that's where I called all these matches in the Legion Hall in Reseda, which now sadly is no longer there. It got closed down and remodeled into a senior center a few years ago, which is again bittersweet because it was kind of one of the iconic venues of the 2000s for pro wrestling in the United States. And TJP and Rocky Romero, I mentioned the guys that are married together, the guys that train together, wrestle each other quite often. Both of these guys started their careers in the kind of the east of Los Angeles, not East LA, but the eastern part of San Bernardino, Riverside County. They started training with EWF, and eventually would go on to UPW, where a lot of guys got their start, and then from UPW they would use that as the stepping stone to the New Japan Dojo in the early 2000s, and they began training. It was then the Inoki Dojo, and TJ, Rocky Romero, Ricky Reyes, Bobby Quance, a lot of these guys began training with the Inoki Dojo, and it was still while Antonio Inoki was involved. And so there's a big, heavy influence on MMA but then also there was the association with CMLL. And so very earlier in their careers, Rocky, TJ, a lot of those guys went down and would do, 2-3 weeks in CMLL, and they definitely liked that a lot more than the MMA influence. And I think that is why they actually have quite a bit of longevity, that they really embraced the Lucha Libre influence more than the MMA.
Rocky Romero's had quite the career, not only with us, but obviously his association with CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I wrestled, actually, I've wrestled both of these guys. I want to say early in my career, but my career was not nearly as long as Rocky's. Rocky's career entering its third decade, I believe. Wow. But these are two of the guys I just remember being at shows with and spending a lot of time with. We had a show in Woodland Hills, California, at the Bernard Milliken Jewish Community Center, and TJ Perkins stole my mask as a rib, and I had just about the biggest panic attack of my life up until that point, because I could not find it. And then finally, as my music was playing, TJ gave it over to me, and I did not think it was as amusing as I do now.
Yes, I understand. I know how you are about your mask.
Excalibur, I'm sure a lot of the people watching this and listening right now, they're only familiar with your work in AEW, so they've only known you as a commentator. Can you tell us about your wrestling career? Like, when did you first get started, and when did you sort of hang up the boots, and what led to that decision?
So I began wrestling in 1999, and as we see Rocky gyrating. But I grew up in Detroit, but moved to Los Angeles to start training with Revolution Pro, not the Rev Pro that's in the UK now, but Rev Pro that was the original in Anaheim, California. And that's where I met Super Dragon, and began my friendship with him. And he was the guy that kind of trained me, broke me into the business. And I was a guy that always wanted to be like Sikosis. Like, a lot of guys wanted to be like Rey Mysterio Jr. and be the flashy guy and do all that. I wanted to be the guy that made guys look good. And I had some luck with that, maybe not a ton of luck, but, enough that I wrestled for a number of years. But in doing so, picked up a lot of injuries, knees, lower back, shoulder, and then the thing that scared me the most was the head injuries. And I had quite a few concussions throughout my career. And so I think it was 2008, I finally decided that, just for my long-term health, I was never going to be a pro wrestler. It was never going to be my full-time income, my full-time vocation. That, for my long-term health, it was something that I kind of needed to stop doing. And luckily I had commentary, so that kept me involved, that that kind of scratched the itch. And it was, I don't want to say I never missed getting into the ring, but as time went on, I realized I was a lot better at talking about wrestling than I ever was doing it. And so that made me feel a lot better.
Let me ask you about TJ Perkins. From what I read, he spent time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Is he still working at all?
Yeah. He's, I'm not quite kept up on his career, but I know that he's competed in New Japan. He was in the Best of the Super Junior tournament a couple of years ago, and he's still around, still competing. Not maybe not as regular as he might like, right. But somebody that was super solid, and for him, he kind of came up in a tough time, because he was the little brother to Rocky Romero and Ricky Reyes, and he was the guy that would get the open-handed slaps to the ear and things like that. And for all of the abuse that he kind of suffered very early on in his career, he came out quite better than some others, I would say.
Tony, he is still wrestling. TJ has 41 matches so far this year, and still counting.
Well, shit. There we go.
Yeah, very cool. How about that? Yeah, 41 more than Excalibur's had.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
And, and you know what? Tony Schiavone's even taken more bumps this year than I
have. Did you see him fall last Wednesday?
No, I only found out about it after the fact, and it was this game of telephone where three different people told me three different versions of it, and each with escalating degrees of severity.
Yeah.
At one person told me that Tony, he was down for a good 10, 12 seconds, and that the medical staff had to come over and help him. And which prompted me to text Tony, and he told me that he was okay, and that you know, the only thing that was hurt was his pride.
Yeah, I sent Excalibur the little video that we put together.
Yeah, so I can verify that he was the one. Well, actually, I can't verify that he was the one to send me the one with the soundtrack, but I've got pretty good assumption that he was.
Right. I was actually proud of that, and what I was fearful of was it made its way on air, but it didn't, and that was one of the ISO cameras that had that. So I told the guys in Nashville, I said, send it to me quickly. I got to see it.
Yeah. So we missed all of the tumble. We just saw Will Hobbs trying fruitlessly to throw this chicken out of the ring.
The chicken trying to get in the ring,
and he couldn't get out of the ring.
I saw that big head, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Oh my.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're laughing, but Rocky and TJ are having a good match.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're putting some time in too.
Yeah, and that was the thing about PWG, is that there would be a sheet in the back that just said 15 minutes for every single match, and that was more of a suggestion than a hard time. But there you kind of see the MMA transitions from the LA dojo, along with some of the lucha influence there. But yeah, it was, you know, I mean, there was guys that would come in there, and they were kind of you know, they were established on the indies. They were coming in there just more for a payday, and they'd see that 15 minutes and they'd be like, how about 11 or 12? And then you'd get guys like TJ and Rocky that would, you know, they were wrestling a lot internationally, whether it was in New Japan or CMLL, but maybe not so much in the US. And they would see this as an opportunity to kind of show their stuff, and they would go, you know, 17, 18.
Submission hold, and TJ wins it. So there you go. And the opening bout.
Excalibur, I want to ask, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you know what happened with Ricky Reyes? I haven't seen or heard from him in a long time. I love the Havana Pitbulls as a tag team. I know he and Rocky were tag team partners for a long time, but it's been years since I remember even seeing his name. Do you know what he's up to now?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't. I should ask Rocky, or I should have asked Rocky ahead of this, and then I could have had an answer for you. But unfortunately, I don't. You know, I hope he's doing well wherever he has ended up. But yeah, I know he has left pro wrestling behind for you know, quite a while.
All right, so this is Chuck Taylor, who we know on the left, and Ricochet on the right. Take a look at Ricochet's hair. Whoa.
Yeah, so this was about a year after Ricochet had debuted in Dragon Gate in Japan, and that's really when his career took a huge step forward, is going there and wrestling with other high flyers, wrestling with guys that, and that's the aforementioned PWG World Championship title belt that is hanging above the for the ladder match that will be the main event. But yeah, Ricochet going to Dragon Gate gave him, I mean, not just a lot of confidence, but working with other high flyers and working with other smart high flyers really gave him the knowledge of how best to use his, you know, his gifts and abilities. Right. It's kind of, and I know you're a DC guy, Tony, but it's kind of like going to Professor Xavier's school.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got that. I'm really impressed with how Ricochet has become a very good heel, and how he's, you know, he just, when you hear him talk, you just want to slap him. You know, he's just so obnoxious, but he's done a great job. And of course, Chuck's one of our coaches now, and have a lot of time for Chuck, especially after I watched some that match with Archibald Peck last week. That was something else.
Yeah, Chuck was somebody that I think he's another guy that doesn't really get the credit that he deserves, that has a great mind for pro wrestling. And I mean, you see it, Tony, in how, you know, people come up to him and people talk to him and ask him for his opinion about stuff. But you know, I don't know if the wrestling fandom at large really appreciates how smart he is. I mean, he is the laziest, most laconic guy. He is, the character of Orange Cassidy, if you
Mhm.
told me that was based on the real Chuck Taylor, I would say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But he's somebody that, he knows so much about pro wrestling. He knows so much about the mechanics and the things, and what makes a good spot, a good sequence, a good callback later on in the match. He knows all these things. And one of my favorite PWG moments of all time, and I remember this vividly, is when Chuck Taylor beat Zack Sabre Jr. to win the PWG World Title. It was probably about 6 years after this match that has taken place, but it was such a smart match, and I can't attribute it all to Chuck, because Zack is just an amazing wrestler in his own right. But those two guys, they had the crowd. They bit on every single up and down and every single twist and turn of the match. And then when Chuck finally won, it was this moment of relief, catharsis, elation, because this lovable loser, this underdog, beat the slickest, smartest technical wrestler in the world. And I think he learned a lot of that in these matches with Ricochet, because Chuck was never, as fancy, as fluid as Ricochet was. He was, you see him, he's the shaggy haired guy, where Ricochet, he's got this mohawk, these trunks that, this was Shima, who you may remember from the early days of AEW, Tony. When he was in Dragon Gate, he was, he was the leader of like the kind of the main stable there at the time that Ricochet went over there. And he immediately embraced Ricochet and brought him in. And that's why Ricochet has this kind of this presentation here. But he and Chuck are very, very different. And I think Chuck for a long time realized that he's never going to look as cool as Ricochet. He's never going to be as fluid as Zack Sabre Jr. But he can do the things that he does extremely well, and he could do them a lot better than a lot of other guys.
Right.
All right, Tony, we got to take a quick time out right now to give you a heads up. Let's be real. Owning a handgun for self-defense comes with serious responsibility. You need it secure, but you also need it accessible when it matters most. And too often that means choosing between locking it away or leaving it out, which means it's vulnerable to kids, guests, or intruders. That's the problem that Stopbox USA set out to solve, and I think they nailed it with the Stopbox Pro. It's 100% mechanical, keyless, battery-free lockbox that gives you instant controlled access to your firearm. No electronics, keys, or codes required. That's right, no keys, no codes, no apps. Just a patented 5-button locking system that responds only to your unique input. It's fast, intuitive, and built for muscle memory, so you're not thinking, you're reacting. And when seconds matter, that makes all the difference. With the Stopbox Pro, you don't have to trade safety for speed or peace of mind for readiness. Your firearm stays secure because it's always within reach. And you never have to worry about tariffs because everything is sourced right here in the USA. Not only that, the Stopbox Pro is even TSA compliant. How about that? Right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off at Stopbox when they use the promo code WHW at checkout. Head on over to StopBoxUSA.com and use the code WHW for 15% off your entire order. That's StopBoxUSA.com, and the promo code is WHW. Now, after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Now, Tony, let's get back to a little Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
We are watching, again, Chuck Taylor and Ricochet doing some spectacular things here. And Excalibur, of course, is here with us, and we really appreciate him being here with us. I'm sure we got some questions for Excalibur we can throw in right now. But before we do, we need to hear Excalibur's call of this match a little bit. Bring up the audio, Dave.
Up the knee, stop to the back, and Chuck Taylor with the upper hand after that exchange. Chuck Taylor, lateral press, not even a 1 count, 0.99. Chuck Taylor remarking that he's already tired, but those familiar with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla history know that Super Dragon would use this seated scissors of the leg to great advantage. So Chuck Taylor using it to recover some of his cardiovascular conditioning and to use it as a vice-like grip on Ricochet. But Ricochet, though, rolls over, gets to the ropes, forcing Chuck to break the hold. Chuck Taylor does look, he looks refreshed, I will say, like he just had a mint julep. Chuck Taylor is awesome. You got to hand it to him. He's no Chris Hero, but you know, as soon as Chuck Taylor gets his own song professing that Chuck Taylor is awesome, then he will be. Tracy Smothers style chop to the throat. It's long rumored that Tracy Smothers.
I do want to ask
Hero.
Excalibur, you know, I think Ricochet's first match was with Chuck Taylor, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chuck was the guy that kind of trained Ricochet, broke him in. I think it was a situation where Ricochet may have paid for training somewhere, and the whoever was doing it wasn't maybe present, or maybe cared that much about the training of his students, more cared about the money that they brought in, and Chuck was the one that was there that kind of was the guy that broke Ricochet in. And yeah, for a long time, much like Rocky Romero and TJ, Chuck Taylor and Ricochet, this was the traveling match. They would go around the country and just wrestle each other on independent shows. And you know, this was their showcase match. And this was a couple years after the last time that they had to do it. And you know, I believe the first match that they had since Ricochet really got that Dragon Gate experience under his belt.
Excalibur, we got a bunch of questions here for you. I don't know that we'll get to all of them, but Coach Rosie is with us here live as a part of our ad-free show's live group chat here, our live studio audience, if you will. And he wants to know, how would you describe American Legion Hall 308 to someone who's never experienced that venue?
It was, in the best of circumstances, a dump. In the worst of circumstances, it was a sweltering sweat box that really tested the stamina and endurance of not just the wrestlers, but the fans as well. But there was no place like it on earth. And it was a place that people wanted desperately to be a part of. You know, from just casual wrestling fans in Los Angeles, there was people that traveled around the world to be there to see shows there. There was musicians, celebrities that tried to get into the building and tried to use their position as a celebrity to get free admission. But we had 500 seats, and we weren't giving away 500 seats for free, or, you know, we weren't giving away any seats for free. Every seat had a price tag attached to it. And if you didn't want to pay that, you couldn't get in the door, no matter how big of a star you were. And so it had a really cool vibe. And a lot of that, again, was Super Dragon and his intention of keeping PWG small, keeping it, kind of, for lack of a better term, like CBGB was in the 70s and, in New York, where this was the place where if you wanted to see who was going to be big next, you had to come here and you had to get in. And maybe that meant that you had to wait we had people showing up at noon before the building opened, and they would just get a lawn chair, bring out a cooler. I mean, it was basically tailgating, where they would get in line and they would just wait all day. And then it became kind of, a rite of passage for a lot of fans. It became a very communal experience. And there's a lot of people who went to PWG shows or that started going as fans that met, people that they're friends with still to this day. And, that's, so not only having the being an influence on professional wrestling, but being an influence on people's lives and their friendships. That's a really cool thing. And I think without the Legion Hall, I don't know that it would have been impossible, at least in the same in the same way that it was.
Thank you for the explanation, Jack the phone guy. It turns out he's got a great follow-up question to that. How did PWG's business model evolve to stay successful without major sponsorship deals or television?
It was razor thin margins the entire way. I think that's the best way to describe it. But it was the fact that it became known as the place where if you wanted to see Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle his first kind of significant match in the United States, you either had to buy a ticket or buy a DVD, buy a Blu-ray. PWG still, right up until the very end did not want to do streaming or live distribution or anything. The business model was the same, and a lot of that was Super Dragon's stubbornness, genius, whatever you want to call it. It was like that way, right until the end. And I don't want to say the end because nothing's been made official. PWG's been on hiatus for a couple of years. There's always a chance that it could come back, and I don't want to never say never. But yeah, the business model didn't evolve all that much. We had that's why we were so desperate to sell every one of those 500 seats in the Legion Hall.
As a guy in Alabama, I never got to attend an event in person, but man, I love the DVDs. It feels like, much like a lot of really successful indies. I mean, hell, for that matter, ECW, they were by and large a tape trading company. You could subscribe and get the tape sent to your house and get a month worth of TVs. And then, of course, we know when that goes under, here comes Ring of Honor. And that's the way I discovered PWG is being, I think, in a store in the mall and picking up a DVD. Does that sound right? Do you remember you guys having stuff in the malls?
Yeah, we had 2 best of collections. PWG Sells Out, volume 1 and 2. And, we were in Best Buy, FYE, those kind of those stores in the mall. And it was just a 3-disc compilation of some of the best matches up until that point. And it I don't know that it was hugely profitable for us from the outset, but from the eyes that it kind of turned on to us, and for the thing that we didn't really think about is that internationally these DVDs would get picked up almost kind of like syndication for television series, where they would end up in stores in Scotland or Ireland or Germany, France, and all of a sudden we would have this burgeoning fan base internationally. And we did a couple of shows in the UK, Germany, and France, and it was successful to a point, but it was not successful enough to keep it going. But what it did is it kept the fan base passionate. And I've talked to a few guys that are still wrestling today that independently of one another went to the first PWG show in the UK. I think it was in Portsmouth. And they all made the trek there, and they all happened to be there in the same building, and that became kind of a rite of passage for a generation of UK indie wrestlers. And so there all these kind of cool things came of that compilation video, even if it wasn't hugely profitable from the start.
Excalibur, do you remember, you and I know this, Tony Khan is just a real big wrestling fan like you and I. Did he ever attend a a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show?
Not in the Legion Hall.
Okay.
He's only been to the theater in Los Angeles,
Beautiful
the
theater.
Yeah. Which unfortunately, like the Legion Hall, is no more. I believe the Globe, shortly after the pandemic, went under. But yeah, it was a beautiful theater, really great facility, and we were really lucky to find that after the Legion Hall. And so I would love for Tony to have experienced this, this building. There you see Ricochet, the dive takes him all the way to the second row, because we were, again, trying to get as many chairs in there as possible. And so it would be about 3.5 feet between the ring and the person in the front row's knees. And yeah, it was just really an experience kind of unlike any other. And I'm sad that not just Tony, but that a lot of people don't get to experience it. And the only way to experience it now is through the DVDs. But it's watching this, and it's hard for me to believe that this is 14 years ago. I mean, it feels like yesterday and a million years ago at the same time.
Yeah, well, time goes by quickly the older you get. And boy, oh boy, I can't believe it's been 6 years of AEW.
I know, it's
Isn't that something?
Yeah, this is it's been an incredible ride, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping, which is the crazy thing. It's kind of like you got to pinch yourself, but you pinch yourself and it just keeps going.
Yeah, sure does. Look at Jesus.
It keeps going until this Friday. Somebody watching Pro Wrestling Guerrilla right now turns 68. Happy early birthday, Tony Schiavone.
Thank you very much. 68. Holy shit. I don't look a day over 67, do I?
I was going to say 66 and a half. But yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Got to color the beard. Get it colored.
There's a few of I mean, you shouldn't feel bad about it because there's a few of my contemporaries, somebody that we may have seen on a match earlier than this, that every Wednesday when he shows up to work gets the little brush out and is coloring that beard.
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
He may be the fourth most powerful man in all of professional wrestling.
I believe so. Wow. 68. You know who celebrated it?
Tony?
You know who helped me celebrate my 67th birthday last year? Mercedes Monet.
I remember that. Yeah.
Bless her heart.
Yeah, you guys, the cake and everything.
Cake and everything. Absolutely. So Coach Rosie said, you look 67. Shut up, Coach Rosie. You son of a bitch. Oh, wow. So I want to hear some more of Excalibur because this is a great match. Let's bring it up to Dave.
Great.
I'll text him when you bring it back down.
Again, making his way to the bottom rope, forcing Chuck to break the hold. Chuck catching his breath.
Triple moonsault!
He's called a triple moonsault. This might be a page out of the Kevin Steen playbook. Chuck Taylor not quite having balance. Nobody home for that moonsault press. Ricochet up on his feet. Ricochet charging in, goes to the rope, flips off, swinging DDT! Standing shooting star press. 1, 2, Chuck kicks out. Now Ricochet up to the top rope. Shooting star press. 1, 2, Chuck kicks out. Ricochet didn't have a full cover on him. He wasn't wrenching that leg back. He wasn't pressuring Chuck's shoulders all the way to the mat. And that might have cost him. Chuck Taylor still in harm's way as Ricochet puts him down in the corner. Could be going for that reverse cannonball senton. Chuck sweeps out the legs though. Got him crouched on the top rope. Ricochet knows what's coming though. He's fighting out of it with those back elbows very desperately. Oh, he kicked him in the perineum. The tape. Awful. 1, 2. No, Ricochet kicks out.
Greatest call in the history of pro
Chuck
wrestling.
Taylor could not.
He kicked him in the perineum. My God, it will never be beaten. What a great call.
To pat myself on the back, it's not on this one. It was a Battle of Los Angeles a few years later, but Jushin Thunder Liger was wrestling in the multi-man match on the third night of the Battle of Los Angeles. So everybody that got eliminated from the tournament over the first 2 nights would wrestle in this big multi-man match that was right ahead of the tournament finals, the main event. It was, usually kind of a longer 8-man match or 10-man match to give the guys in the main event a little bit of time before they had to go back out and wrestle. And I believe my call was the legendary asshole of Jushin Thunder Liger.
That's good. I like the falsetto Excalibur I heard on that one call. That was great.
Oh, well, thank you. That was
way high. It was good.
Because I had no control over my voice and I was just screaming at the top of my lungs for 3-4 hours. And so by this point in the night, I was already losing my voice. And I would literally, I'd go into work on Monday morning and I was just, my voice was completely hoarse. I could barely speak because I was just losing my mind screaming about wrestling for a few hours. Luckily, I've reined it in a little bit, or maybe unluckily, maybe I was a lot better then.
There's the 1, 2, 3. Excalibur, I want to ask you something. The fans chanting the way they chant, chanting like they were chanting for Chuck, and the others were chanting for Ricochet.
Well, so sorry to cut you off. Everybody in Los Angeles thought that Ricochet was Irish. They thought
Like
his name
Rick
was Rick.
O'Shea.
Yeah.
Rick O'Shea.
That was just to get a chuckle out of Tony, but it didn't work.
Anyway, do you think there's a lot of fan chanting going on now? This is awesome. Was that born on independent wrestling?
Absolutely. Yeah. It didn't exist, in WCW or WWF. I mean, there was,
right.
The chants for specific guys, but the this is awesome. And, this is wrestling and fight forever and all of that began, on the independent scene, and,
right.
Has now become mainstream. It's become commonplace in, whether it's AEW or WWE.
Right. We have a guy in one of the trucks that just lives in the back of one of the trucks. He is a This Is Awesome guy. We bring him out, open the truck. He walks in. This is awesome. He gets the chant started. We feed him into catering. He goes back in the truck, and he's at the next venue.
Yep, and he was the guy that started it. It was actually in Topeka, Kansas, in 2004, and he began it all. And we found him. We were lucky enough. That's what a fan of pro wrestling that Tony Khan is. He knew exactly who this guy was, and he hired him.
Wrestling announcers can just feed a bullshit line and keep on doing it. Here we go. We are really looking forward to this, and I know the last match that we're going to watch, the ladder match, is spectacular. But man, take a look.
Yeah, like I mentioned, this is the debut of Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole in PWG. They teamed in Ring of Honor as Future Shock. This was their first match, and I don't know if you guys noticed the PWG World Tag Team Championship title belts. That was, I believe, the second version of the titles. The first version, the Young Bucks held, and I don't know if it was Matt or Nick, but they lost one of them. And then they had to replace it. And so they had a buddy that basically owned a pair of tin snips, and he got some cardboard, he got some leather, and he just kind of snipped out the shape of a belt of two of them. And that became the PWG World Tag Belts. They were, Conrad, I'm sure you would love to add them to your collection, but they were the most low budget thing. I mean, I could probably go down to my garage and what I have in there right now, make a better set, but they were, they were ugly. They were terrible, like the Legion Hall, but they were ours, right. and that was kind of part of the charm of PWG, that these belts were so terrible.
Speaking of ours, is it fair to say that PWG was the home promotion of the Young Bucks?
Oh yeah, I mean for a very long time. I think I haven't done the tally, but at a certain point in my career, even with what they had done in New Japan, I believe I'd called more minutes of Young Bucks matches than just about anybody else. And now with AEW, that may be true once again. But yeah, I mean, this PWG is where they grew into the team, the wrestlers that they were. I mean, at first they were just pure white meat baby faces, and at a certain point, the fans, they were fickle. They turned on them, and much, to everyone's surprise, they embraced it, and they became the Young Bucks that they've been some version of for the last decade and a half almost. I mean, at this point they were heels already. And they've iterated on it, and they've made it better time and time again. And I think this is where they did that experimentation. And then once they got to Japan, they kind of knew what worked. And because you could see it's a small room, it's a tough room, and any misstep, any flub that you have, everybody can see it very vividly. And so they knew that if they could get away with it in Receipt, if they could get away with it in the Legion Hall, they could get away with it in a big arena, in Osaka or somewhere, or the Tokyo Dome, and this was where they workshop stuff, kind of like a small comedy club before somebody goes to, Carnegie Hall
to tape a special or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that they are just phenomenal. And it's heels or baby faces. They always give us a great match. I mean, they always give us a great match. I've never seen a bad Young Bucks match. I haven't. So,
the thing that amazes me is the longevity of these guys that I've, kind of came up with or watched come up through PWG, because I remember back in the Jacksonville days of AEW talking to Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, and they somebody was, complimenting them, and rightfully so, about what a great tag team they were. But, Tully, I think it was, pointed out, he's like, our run really wasn't that long relative to, guys today. And I mean, you think about the Young Bucks, their run as a top level tag team is probably twice as long as Arn and Tully.
Right.
The same goes for FTR, same goes for, so many teams that, just, I think there's obviously better circumstances on the highest levels now. The travel is a little easier, not that it's easy, but it's a little easier than it was. The conditions inside the ring are a little more created with the competitors in mind. And the medical teams are, it's not just some local doctor that happens to be a wrestling fan that's there just in case somebody breaks their leg. It's, we have trainers that are physiotherapists that are working out with guys and, making sure they know what their injuries are. And the next time they show up at TV, the doctors are checking in with them and making sure that they're good, and they're doing the rehab at home and stuff like that. And, that didn't exist 40 years ago. And I think that's, a huge part of the longevity of teams like the Bucks.
Life happens fast. 1 minute you're driving home after work. The next, you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need help. Whether it's a DWI, a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, ready to guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. This isn't a call center. It's not a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community, and one who can step in right away. Think about it. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone, or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind that Legal Buddy gives you. And here's how easy it is. Just download the Legal Buddy app right now at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today and use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen, tickets happen, mistakes happen. But when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and enter the referral code LEGAL.
Let's listen in to some of the commentary. Bucks are heels here. Let's listen to Excalibur.
Jackson flips him up over the top. Now Matt Jackson flips him up over the top. And O'Reilly tags in.
Here we go. Come on.
Charges in, ducks under the line.
There we go. There we go.
Knocking Nick off the apron. Kick to the back. Kick to the chest. Now sending him into the rope pillar to post. Reversal by Matt Jackson.
Nice.
Rolls through after the float over. Young Bucks telegraphed that one.
Yeah, that's where Kyle's most dangerous, when he's throwing kicks.
Kick to the side of the head, the enziguri.
I watched this double dragon screw.
Oh, wow!
That double dragon.
Tremendous maneuver by Kyle O'Reilly. Now O'Reilly up to the top rope.
Come on, Kyle, get up there.
Both Young Bucks on spaghetti legs.
You gotta get clear in that.
Legs swept out. Cole knocked off the ropes, and look at this. Nick is holding him in the corner. Back handspring.
Oh,
back handspring. Back rake. He went against the grain with that one. Had him in the tree wall.
Well, apparently, judging from O'Reilly's reaction, it was effective, though.
Very effective. The Young Bucks. I mean, we've seen them use that numerous times, but every time, I mean, it does have a reaction.
Okay, yeah, somebody's working with you on this one, right?
Yeah, I didn't recognize the voice at first, but it was Davey Richards actually. Davey Richards, who knew both Cole and O'Reilly from the independent scene outside of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Davey, who really kind of rose to prominence, or kind of kickstarted his independent career in PWG. I had the privilege of wrestling against him in his first match. I think it was the very first All-Star weekend for PWG.
Bryant's with us here live, and he wants to know, Excalibur, you would have a lot of people always call matches with you. Who made you laugh the most, and who did you enjoy calling matches with? Now, we'll keep it to PWG for the answers here.
Well, yeah, Tony Schiavone is, of course,
Of course.
Come on, Taz makes us laugh more than anybody else. You know that.
But it's not intentionally. My short list of 3 would be Kevin Steen and Chuck Taylor, just for the laughs, and then Chris Hero, who has a great brain for wrestling. I've said that a couple times already tonight, but Hero, he's got such a great brain, and could really do some good analysis and break things down, and had and Tony, you know this from speaking to Hero,
yeah.
As an encyclopedic memory of wrestling, and of sequences and things like that, and can just be pull it out from the ether, which I'm for as much as you think I'm a esoteric reference machine, Hero is much more so than I am.
Wow. And a story that you have added on to Excalibur that's worth mentioning here. When you mentioned Hero, Hero showed me. I told Hero, I said, I heard you and Eddie Kingston had a shoot fight one time. And he said, yeah, here's the footage. And he hit Eddie Kingston with the microphone, boom, in the head. They were going at it. And Excalibur said,
this was at a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show. I believe they had just had a 4-way match. The Hero and Eddie, they've a love-hate relationship. They began, working together in Chikara, and then, had great chemistry inside the ring, which led to them getting booked all over the place, and led to kind of friction, I will say, between the two of them.
Right.
And it all came to a head at this PWG show, where Eddie was behind Hero, and he was literally trying to use his thumbs to gouge out his eyes, and Hero had the microphone in his hand, and he starts hitting Eddie from behind, and I had to run down to the ring and try to break it up between these two guys. And then the following morning, I had to run down to Guitar Center and buy a new microphone, because Chris Hero broke it on Eddie Kingston's head. And also, it was the Legion Hall's microphone.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to replace it out of my own pocket.
Oh, wow. You didn't take it out of Chris Hero's pay?
No, but now in retrospect, I think I should, with interest.
Yeah. Absolutely. Chris Hero, Eddie Kingston. Wow.
Ryan's got another question for you, Excalibur. He says, when it comes to the celebrities who attended PWG, which one surprised you the most, seeing them in the crowd? You referenced earlier, no comps, you got to buy your seats, but it was a coveted ticket, a hard to get ticket. And I was surprised with a couple of folks. Who surprised you the most?
I mean, the coolest one for me personally was Mike Patton from Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, Tomahawk, whatever, number of bands. But for me, just as somebody whose music I really enjoy, him being there and kind of taking in what we were doing in this little space, that was exceptionally cool for me. And I tried to make it a point to to not bug anybody that was there, because I knew that they were just there to have a good time and enjoy themselves. But he was somebody that I said to myself, like, when am I going to have a chance to ever speak to Mike Patton again? And so I did go up and just took 20 seconds of his time, and was very apologetic for it, but he was very cool about it. The most surprising was Sofia Vergara.
Yeah.
Which I think is the first name that comes to mind for a lot of people in terms of celebrities at PWG. She was there because another person that I got to meet and become friends with, or friendly with, is Chris Bauer, who played Frank Sabatka on The Wire, and who was on the show True Blood for their cast wrap party for, I can't remember which season it was. He bought, I think it was just 10 or 12 tickets. And so all the cast members of, I guess 10 or 12 of the main cast members of True Blood came along with Chris. But then Sofia Vergara was married to Joe Manganiello at the time, who's on True Blood. And that's how she ended up being there. And there is a photo that she posted on Instagram where she's, looking very pretty, and she's next to the ring, and she's like, I think they're dead. And my claim to fame is that it's my exposed butt crack that is right behind her. Or partially exposed.
Okay, good enough.
But I do have to give Chris Bauer props, because my wife, when I met her, one of the first things that we bonded over was our love of The Wire. And there happened to be a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show just a few months after we began dating. And I said, hey, Chris, I really like this girl. And he brought James Ransone, who played his son, Ziggy Sabatka, on The Wire. And I said, hey, would you guys just do like a 10, 15-second video for this girl? I really like her. And, this, I think, would mean the world. And he said, absolutely. And then he did this video. I sent it to her. She couldn't believe it. She thought it was, two like people cosplaying as them or something. She couldn't believe it was real. But then when my wife and I actually got married, Justin Roberts contacted Chris Bauer and asked him to make another video, which he very kindly did, and played it at our wedding. And it was just congratulating us on our marriage. So of all the celebrity guests that that came to a PWG show, I'd say there were some cool ones, but for very personal reasons, none cooler than that.
Wow. Great stories.
Do you think we know Chris Bauer was also in the wrestling television show Heels? Do you think Pro Wrestling Guerrilla was somehow an inspiration for that show on some level?
I would have to imagine so. I mean, I know Chris was a big fan of wrestling before he started coming to PWG, but I think seeing it on this level, seeing it this close, I mean, it is very much theater in the round. Every seat's a great seat in this type of environment. And, it's a big difference of being in Staples Center and seeing a show, or being at the Forum, and then being in this room, and you see everybody standing up. Actually, the guy in the red shirt on the I guess the bottom right hand of the screen, that's Alan Denkinson, who his nickname was Dink, who was he was a professional gambler. He actually had a movie made about his life. There was a book, then a movie, and he was somebody that was a huge supporter and that had a very wide network of friends. And he passed away tragically a couple of years ago, but we had a show in his name, in his honor, because he was somebody that was such an ambassador for professional wrestling, and brought people that had never experienced wrestling before, and brought them to a PWG show, and they were just like, holy shit, this is unlike anything. That people have these preconceived notions of what wrestling is. And then you see something like what we're watching there, and you have 500 people just absolutely losing their mind, and it's it changes somebody's perspective.
I've seen Kyle O'Reilly do some spectacular things here that I don't think I've seen him do in an AEW ring.
No, I mean, I think Kyle, unfortunately, due to the neck injuries, neck surgery, has to wrestle a little more conservative style than he may want to. But you know what? As a man of a certain age that has had a certain number of injuries, I'd say good for Kyle. And a lot of guys have to go through that process and figure it out. I mean, you look at not to take anything away from him, but look at somebody like Okada, who you see his matches from 10 years ago, and it's completely different from what they are now. It's a different style, but they're no less entertaining. I mean, in fact, it's a work smarter, not harder type situation.
Right. Yeah, the greats can do that, no doubt. There's a guy down the front row here. I see him
He's
with the
fired
hat
up,
on.
boy.
Boy, he's fired up about everything, man.
Yeah, he was one of our
Wow.
one of our regulars. He would be one of those guys that would show up at noon. You know, the day of the show, he'd be one of the first guys in line because he always wanted that that kind of front row center spot where he could see the guys coming through the curtain and you know have the best view of the action. And
oh, so it's not assigned seating; it's just free for all.
no, we would sell. I think it was. Now you tested my memory. I think 64 front row tickets, and then the rest was just general admission.
I got you. Now, were they season ticket holders like ECW back in the day, or how did that work?
It was just we would we'd put them up on our website at usually about 8 o'clock Pacific time on a Monday or something, and it would routinely crash the website. Tickets would sell out in just a matter of minutes. There was I remember there was a guy that had a Twitter account where he would fill his cart up with like 200 tickets, and he would do this bit every show. He would fill his cart up with 200 tickets, never actually click buy, but he would convince enough people that he had 200 PWG tickets to sell, on the scalping or whatever, or on the secondhand market. And at the time we didn't think it was that funny, but now I can appreciate the bit.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but was there a big scalping component to the shows eventually, do you think?
Not really. I think because they were so hard to get, and it's not like you could use bots or anything. I mean, the system that we had was so archaic that you literally had to click and add it to your cart and then go through your PayPal thing, and it was just it was a giant pain in the ass for me because I was the one that had to set them up every time. But in retrospect, I think it helped keep the tickets kind of off the secondary market. And I'm sure there was people that, if they couldn't make it to a show, they would, ask their buddy, or, there was enough fans that would take, an extra ticket. But I don't think there was, anybody that was really abusing the system and making, a huge profit off of it.
We appreciate everyone being with us here, joining us live. And this has been a really special telecast for many reasons, or a broadcast for many reasons. And one of the things is just the spectacular things that we're seeing right now.
It's unbelievable.
It is. It really is absolutely unbelievable. If it wasn't for you telling me that was Adam Cole, I would have never recognized it. It's just, when there's a kid who's gone through his share of injuries, look at the fans, man, on just a standing up, just on a submission hold here.
Excalibur, we know that this style that they're working here is really going to evolve into what we see in AEW every week on TV now. You've probably studied this more than anybody on the planet. How would you describe this style of wrestling? Because it was very influential. I mean, there's so many wrestlers who are, cutting their teeth and getting their first big break now. They grew up on this, and this is sort of the new way. But is there a term to describe this fast-paced style that Pro Wrestling Guerrilla became known for?
If there is a term, I don't know it. I mean, the what I would say is that it's the North American indie style, but even that's kind of unfair because it takes influences from so many places. It was from Japan, from Mexico, and from a lot of what people were doing in ECW, but it was really, I think, a reaction, kind of the antithesis of the slower, more plotting style that you would see on, I don't know, plotting maybe is the wrong word, because you would see these matches that they were 2.5 minutes long on Raw or on Nitro, and it was just like that's sure you got to see a lot of matches, but did you get to see any good matches that night? And and I guess that's a relative term. It's beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but for the people that were in this building and people that were buying those DVDs around the world, the matches were were longer and had more storytelling and more athleticism and more drama than what you could get on a any given Monday night or on a Thursday night. And so it was maybe the super indie style. I don't know, but it was a style that in 1999 when I started, this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to wrestle every night like it was the main event of of Budokan Hall, in the hottest era of All Japan, or the main event of the Tokyo Dome. Like every night we wanted to be. That's how intense we wanted the matches to be. And the thing we didn't realize is that if you're wrestling in front of 25 people in a swap meet, maybe you don't need to beat the shit out of each other.
Hey, did you know you can own for less than your current rent? We can help at savewithconrad.com. Stop throwing your money away on rent. You don't know any wealthy renters. Start building wealth for your family with my family at savewithconrad.com.
Okay, this is the main event, and from all that we've heard about it, this is going to be nothing less than spectacular.
Also, just want to draw your attention to those air conditioning vents. You see those little tassels that are on the vents? They were not moving. Because Larry would not turn the air conditioning on for us because he said too many people were opening the door to go outside and smoke, and he wasn't trying to cool the neighborhood.
Oh my gosh.
So
Someone should have stretched him.
Hotter and hotter as the night went on.
Wow.
Who would have ever thought, watching this back in 2011, that these guys would have the career they had? Excalibur, would have ever been on your bingo card that Kevin Owens would main event WrestleMania one day against Stone Cold Steve Austin? That just seems make believe hearing that in 2011, I'm sure.
In 2011, it was insanely hard to believe, just because there wasn't a place in wrestling for a guy like Kevin, not just, his body type, but just, a brawler, a hard hitter, but like a guy that was creative and inventive. There just wasn't a place like that for him in mainstream wrestling. It was a path that he had to carve out for himself, and it wasn't easy. But if there was anybody that was going to do it, if you told me in 2011 that Kevin was going to be the one to do it, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's even more unimaginable because Stone Cold wasn't even wrestling in 11. He's retired. So the idea that he's going to come out of retirement and he's going to wrestle Kevin Steen at WrestleMania, not The Rock or John Cena or whatever, it's just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was a Steen fan from day one, and I was so happy when he first made his way to WWE. I think his first PLE, I think it was against John Cena. And I made it a point to be there in person because I was like, I can't believe this guy's in WWE. It felt like a dream come true. And he's wrestling John Cena. It didn't feel real.
I remember that first match against Cena. And if I remember it correctly, Cena was breaking out moves that no one had ever seen him do on a WWE show before. And I would like to think that's thanks in large part to the fact that he was wrestling Kevin Steen, who was quite unlike anybody else in WWE at the time, and that he was the kind of guy that could bring that out of Cena, or that Cena would want to kind of try to not rise to Kevin's level, but try to play Kevin's game, so to speak.
And here's El Generico, who, by the way, we watched some Chikara last week. We heard him do a promo with those two crazy guys, 2.0. Man.
Generico is he was an incredible talent. Unfortunately, for him, his heart took him to a different place. He's very passionate about professional wrestling, but he's also very passionate about the orphanage that he ran in Tijuana, Mexico. And, to my knowledge, is still down there doing great work and helping those children.
It's wonderful work. We're going to get
a great news
here in the coming weeks too.
Yeah, that's great news.
Fun question here. One thing that always made me laugh was when junior senior official Justin Borden would get booed. Was it ever explained why the fans hated him so much, Excalibur?
I think Justin had the misfortune of doing a miscount once or twice, or somebody thought it was a lot of people thought it was a 3, but he only counted a 2, or something like that, which then just led to him getting so much stick from the fans in Reseda. And Rick Knox, we saw it in the first match, actually, that with Rocky and TJ, that he would get into the act, he would do stuff, he'd play a role in the matches, which you wouldn't normally see on many shows. And Rick was kind of this beloved figure, and Justin just had the misfortune of a couple missteps, and that it was what led to him getting booed, but then it allowed him to kind of have his own character. Where the wrestlers weren't the only ones with personalities. Love that spot. But that, like even the referees could have a little bit of personality, that it was, it was such a tight space, such a confined space that, that you see, I mean, Rick Knox, he's basically sitting in somebody's lap. And
that's right.
and he's just there to call for the bell. Once the belt gets pulled down from the ceiling, and I don't want to spoil what happens, but it's a very special moment that we will all experience together, and I'm excited for you guys to experience it.
All right. So about Rick Knox, I really, really enjoy talking to Rick. He's really a good guy. I know very honestly, he took a lot of flack from JR on the air. So I would try to go the other way with it and put Rick over, but he's a good guy, and I know he's been in wrestling a long, long time.
Yeah, Rick is a super interesting guy to talk to. One of my favorite guys. A lot of times we'll have layovers in Atlanta, and I always kind of look forward to that, because if it means getting to talk to Rick for just a half an hour about whatever the topic of the day, or just, hey, remember this, remember that.
Right.
Rick was somebody that he actually in the early 90s, I believe, wrote music zines, like for like hardcore and like punk rock music, like little zines and stuff. And that was kind of his entree into to professional wrestling, where it was this counterculture thing. And you would never know it to look at him, but he's somebody that has been to a lot of shows. He's flailed a lot of limbs. He's he's done a lot of stuff in his life. And whenever JR would give Rick some abuse, I would always say, he's the tag team specialist, because he's somebody that every Young Bucks match that
shit.
Yeah, every Young Bucks match that I think about, whether it's true or not, I almost always envision Rick Knox as being the referee for that match.
Right.
Just because that's how synonymous he became with those guys in Reseda or in PWG. And I know there's a lot of referees out there, but Rick is the guy that I will forever associate with the Bucks and with tag team wrestling.
Dave, let's bring up the sound, because El Generico is selling his ass off right here, but I know we got the end of it.
Kevin Steen in firm control here, just laughing.
Kevin Steen in control of this match after just destroying El Generico's lower back, and a soccer ball kick to the spine. A second one.
Those hurt so bad. They really do.
And Kevin Steen just remorseless. He is the champion, but he's a champion for a reason. I mean, Ali is surfing on the back of El Generico and drops the knee right into the spine.
These two bitter rivals have been for years, off and on tag team, and mostly just rivals.
Is this the first time? I think this is the first ladder match between these guys, is it not?
Yes. Yeah. And that was, really cool, because they'd had so many other types of matches. Their first match in PWG, and I think it was 2004, was against one another. It was just a, straight up singles match. But, for them to have gone through their careers for so long and then have, their first ladder match in PWG was really special, because even though, well, Generico's from Tijuana, but Kevin's from Quebec, and to have both these guys think of PWG and think of LA or Reseda as kind of their home, and to want to do this match in their home promotion, was really cool. And I was when Kevin Owens wrestled that guy Sami Zayn at WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and they did it in LA, and Kevin had the PWG logo on his shorts. I thought that was a really special touch, and it was a special touch, obviously for me and Super Dragon, and I think a lot of people that were involved on the operations side of PWG. But I think it was a really special touch for a lot of the fans, for the the 500 some odd people that were in the building on this night, and that had ever come through the doors, that saw that they got to it really told the story of how special that these nights in Reseda, however uncomfortable they may have been, how special they were to not just Kevin, but to guys like Sami Zayn, and to guys like Will Ospreay, who watched the DVDs and dreamt about wrestling there, and dreamt about competing there, but never thought they'd get the opportunity. And once they did, they fully embraced it, and they felt how special it is, and how special it was.
When do you remember it becoming like the place for guys to get noticed? Because respectfully, in this era, these guys were on Ring of Honor as well. And I think once upon a time, people thought, hey, that was the place to go get noticed. But it does feel like it was transitioning to PWG in this era. Do you remember when you first felt like that, or did you ever feel like that?
I don't know that I could demarcate the date, but I mean, like you mentioned, Kevin and Generico, they were in Ring of Honor. Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole were in Ring of Honor. I think Bucks might have been in Ring of Honor at this point. But this was a place where these guys got to go without any sort of limitations. Like I said, the 15-minute time limit was more of a suggestion than anything. And I remember on some of the early Reseda era shows, guys would they'd be watching the first match through the curtain, and they'd just be saying like, well, how the hell am I going to follow that? But that became the PWG ethos, was that the guys in the first match, the guys in the second match, the guys in the third match are gonna wrestle their asses off. They're gonna just floor it without breaks. And if you're in the main event, you're going to have to top that. And that, it was kind of a crucible where, the hotter the fire got, if you could stand up to it, you really showed that you were one of the top guys in the world. And, Kevin and Generico and everybody that's main evented a PWG show multiple times, they're guys that earned it, and they showed that they belonged there. And there was some guys that asked to go on first because they didn't want to have to follow that. And those were the guys that maybe didn't make as many.
What a great spot that was.
I think that was the ladder where he backdropped him on, and it fractured. But those were the guys that didn't main event maybe a lot of PWG shows, the guys that asked to go on first. Right. Whereas the guys that would kind of embrace, embrace the fact that these people will have just seen two plus hours of some of the most amazing wrestling in the world, and we've got to go out there and top that. That there's a reason why Kevin Owens, why that who's who of professional wrestling, Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks. There's a reason why these guys are still in the top 10, top 20 of wrestlers in the world today.
We're watching a hell of a ladder match here. It's called Steen Wolf from 2011, and you're seeing two of the best to ever do it in the main event here, El Generico and Kevin Steen. It's a ladder match, and we hope you're watching along with us at whwmonday.com, because something interesting is going to happen here shortly, and I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to find it interesting. I'm going to find it interesting because I very nearly did not financially recover from it, but
Okay.
Hey, I do want to mention, to peel the curtain back, I think I know you get annoyed, but every time I get to hang out with you in real life, I can't help but pick your brain about the most mysterious man in pro wrestling history, Super Dragon. I don't think he gets enough of his flowers these days. Can we show a little love to Super Dragon here?
absolutely. I mean, I was talking about what a great mind that he has for wrestling, as as a booker, as a creative force behind. Oh Jesus,
My goodness.
but he's somebody that like you see Steen and Generico going out there and just kind of beating the crap out of each other. That's every time Dragon and I would get into the ring, that's how we did it. And it was one of those things where sometimes you hit your friends harder than you hit somebody you actually dislike. And but he was also somebody that knew the importance of like he had this bully character that he would play, but he knew the importance of when he would take a bump and when he would take a big bump, of how meaningful that was. And he had the spot where he would go for a spear in the corner, the guy would move, and he would just do a full force tope into the ring post, and it looked spectacular. It looked like a car crash, but then it gave the babyface, or the guy that he was wrestling, it gave him that hope spot where, okay, now this guy can get back into it. And it was meaningful. It was important. And one time he did it. He was wrestling in All Japan, and he did it. And the ring posts there are a little fatter than they are in the U.S. And he just split his head open from his eyebrow to his hairline, but it was gushing down inside of his mask, and he couldn't see, and he had to wrestle the rest of the match completely blind. But he did it. But he was a pro's pro.
Excalibur, don't let us miss it. So let us know when we need to.
Oh no, you'll see it. Don't worry.
I mean, from an audio standpoint, just give us a heads up.
Give us a little thing, but so we know when the finish is coming in. This has been some great stuff. And again, what has happened during these podcasts, Excalibur, is opened my eyes to what I had missed and what I was ignorant to all these years. That I was away from the business.
I mean, I don't want to. I mean, ignorant is I guess an incorrect, but I think harsh term. Mm-hmm. In that you could say that I am ignorant to baseball from the 1960s.
Right.
But, I guess, yes, that is technically true, but maybe it just, I wasn't around. I wasn't paying attention. Obviously,
right.
Born in the 1960s, but I would give yourself a little credit where, you had been through the ringer. Needed time to decompress, needed time away. And, I feel it now too, where, having done this for, 6+ years straight, the last thing I want to do in my recreational time is watch, well, maybe not the last thing, but, one of the last things is watch pro wrestling.
Right.
I feel like I get enough of that, which is, that's bittersweet for me, because it's something that, it's a true love of mine, but it's something that, for when I just sit down at the couch at the end of the night, do I want to put on Great British Bake Off, or do I want to put on the New Japan show? And 9 times out of 10, it's Bake Off. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah, I'm with you. It's it can be, as doing television, and the day that we spend doing television is exhausting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really
and I feel even worse for you and Nigel having to do Collision, like we did last week after a Dynamite, where, you guys aren't getting started until 10:30 Eastern, and,
right.
Running until midnight or whatever. And that's, that's tough. I mean, we experienced that. We all experienced that on pay-per-view days, where it's just, it's a marathon, and it's something, even if you love running marathons, by the end, you're going to be fatigued. You're going to be worn out. And I bet you're not going to want to run a marathon tomorrow.
Right.
I'm not sure if this is the finish coming up, but
okay, let's track it.
I love PWG as much as the next guy, but is that belt worth this?
That's what both of these men have got to ask.
Power bomb. Apron. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ is right.
Good God.
Powerbomb on the apron. Both men on the near side of the ring.
I don't know if you noticed
Steen
that
somehow
in the blue
is
shirt
on his feet.
handing
Maybe
a chair,
he's just fighting on instinct at this point.
handing a chair forward. What would happen is when the guys would smash the front row chairs from the back would get brought forward, and the people in the back row would just stand. It was a very communal and understanding thing. It was I doubt it. You see all the blood on his back.
I know.
And the people just getting wiped out in the front row. I mean, it was not something that I think was designed or ever intended on happening, but it was something that this might be it.
Okay, here we go.
And now trying to climb the ladder. But I mean, he is beaten to shit.
Yeah, his back is all bloody. The fans trying to will El Generico up the runs of that ladder. Kevin Steen
Steen sees him. He stirs, and he knows how close Generico is.
Hand is on it again.
Fingertips on the belt.
You got to reach for the top.
Yeah,
he's trying the strap.
He was grabbing the plate of it. The wrong side. Oh, boot to the midsection.
Oh, God, no. Oh, no. This crowd knows what Kevin Steen has in mind.
Kevin Steen going for the powerbomb. Generico holding on with all his might.
Kevin Steen is trying to deadlift. Oh, no! Oh, my God.
This is a horror show.
Oh, that ladder is just completely destroyed.
Kevin Steen is completely destroyed.
Oh my God! This has got to be a Generico climb that ladder in this mercy.
Oh, Generico just collapsed. Total desperation, that reversal.
Generico going up. Steen, how the fuck is Steen still alive?
Steen's got another ladder, or perhaps the same ladder.
Oh, look at that. Look at Generico's back. You can see that bruise.
Just the abrasions all over the back of El Generico. And still, he's climbing up the wrong side. That's the faceplate side. He wants to get
Put his hand on it.
The quickest way is to pull him by the strap.
God, he's on
Steve throws the ladder at El Generico.
Oh, and those fiberglass things are going to splinter. There's going to be jagged edges on that. That's what lacerated the Generico back there earlier.
Oh, my God. This is...
the other thing was that I think we only had 3 ladders for this match.
Oh, wow.
And they've broken 2 of them.
As most of you know, there's no way to work throwing a ladder at somebody.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. You're going to get the full brunt of it. And Kevin's
I think that was the only full aluminum ladder. The other 2 blue ones were the fiberglass ones. And these guys, they weren't wrestling thinking like, well, if we break all 3 ladders, what are we going to do? I think it was more of a we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And right. I think they would still be wrestling to this day had they destroyed all 3 ladders.
Wow. I'll tell you what, El Generico can sell his ass off, buddy. Holy smokes.
No doubt about it.
It was, Tony, you remember, the first time you saw Jushin Thunder Liger, and, he's covered head to toe, his face completely covered, but he's somebody that can, that can get the crowd on his side just through his body language. And right. Generico was the exact same way. I would, in my career, I would sell, but it was because I was really getting the shit kicked out of me.
Right.
And he was really getting the shit kicked out of him, but he could, also sell in a very entertaining way. And it was, it's night or day. I mean, even watching him at this point in 2011, just how both these guys, just how, what a command they have of the ring, of the proceedings, of the story.
Right. And one of the things and this amazes me about some of the matches that we see today, but especially this one, is how these guys can continue to go on and on and on with the crazies. But fuck that. and still are able to perform. It's just like amazing.
Tony, during the next AEW pay-per-view, will you promise me that you'll at least try to work in fuck that? That would be tremendous.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the longevity that I was talking about, the different training habits, the different the different ways guys are taking care of themselves, the fact that they're not running or driving from town to town 5 nights a week. I mean, granted, some guys are still doing it 2-3 nights a week, but it's they're also not doing it in a Cadillac Riviera with bench seats or whatever. They're doing it in a car that's at least comfortable. What I'm trying to say is that just there's things and the aftercare of after a match like this, guys will load up a bathtub with ice. They will do that sort of stuff where maybe not everybody, but maybe there's a lot of guys that will, the guys that have the most longevity, whereas guys maybe 40 years ago would maybe be concerned visiting the local watering hole or talking to a friend that they hadn't seen in a while and seeing what she's up to, that sort of thing.
So the Bucks get involved here,
and I will admit I don't remember exactly where we are in PWG history, why the Bucks were involved, because at different points they were part of the Mount Rushmore of wrestling with Kevin Steen, with Adam Cole, with Super Dragon. Why they were antagonistic to Kevin at this point, I do not remember, but maybe we want to unmute it right here.
Yeah,
oh, knock the damn power out. Steen falling, unable to climb with his knees.
El Generico just firing some right hands, Steen some rights of his own.
Very precarious. This is dangerous.
That ladder is bearing a lot of weight, much more than I think it is designed to, and a lot more hate than I think it's designed for.
Steen
very close to it.
Generico's got his hand on the belt.
He's got his hand on the back of Steen's head. And headbutt from Generico.
Oh, God. What is... No. Oh, only the back of his head hit the fucking ladder. Steen may be dead.
And Generico is climbing up. Generico is climbing up.
One hand up. Generico, he got the strap. Oh, pull the whole goddamn thing down.
El Generico is the new Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Champion.
It's fair to say that you guys tore the house down that
Wow.
And that air conditioning vent came out of our deposit.
Wow. That was fucking cool.
It was amazing. You got to go see it. Watch along with us. WHWMonday.com.
Okay.
And Excalibur, do I have this right? This will lead to the Young Bucks versus Kevin Steen and Super Dragon in a tag match.
That does sound about right. Actually, Fear may have been the follow-up show to this one, now that I'm thinking about it, and might have been a guerrilla warfare match between Kevin Steen, Super Dragon, and the Young Bucks, which at this point, Super Dragon was on hiatus, partially retired, and I don't think anybody really expected him to be back. But when he does, when he would come back, it would always be kind of special. His career just through a number of injuries was cut short, but he was again of the generation that I was, where we wrestled fast, we wrestled hard, and we really didn't think a lot about the future. And for some of us, that caught up with us. For others, they were able to adapt, or just were super lucky.
So we're going to see Super Dragon make an appearance here, right?
I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be very disappointing.
Okay.
Let's track it.
Oh, here we go.
Tony, I think that maybe your introduction to Super Dragon, is that your first time seeing him before?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nothing like it, is it? I mean, the way the crowd responds to him, it's just, there's nothing like it.
Sound like a lot more than 500 people, I can tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when the lights were out, you could hear the murmurs, the pandemonium, and everything like that. It was just, and the funny thing is, you saw it a couple of minutes before the finish. One of the lights went dim, and that was just because we were literally talking to the bartender behind the. There's that little curtain where the entrance is, and the bartender, there's a light switch, and like all 6 light switches there for the entire building are there, and she was like, now, and she started hitting me like, no, not now, not now.
It's tremendous.
But I mean, that was independent wrestling, warts and all, and it's what makes it great. The fact you couldn't plan a moment where the vent comes down and bonks El Generico in the top of the head. But it's part of the charm, and it's part of I mean, for me, that's almost more memorable than the entire match itself. I hate to say it, because these guys put each other through hell. Yeah. But that, I mean, just that type of moment, the way televised wrestling is, whether it's AEW or WWE or TNA, it's so clean, that things like that don't happen, and that's part of the charm of the indies.
Excalibur, I don't know what to say, man. I am so thankful and appreciative that you spent time with us and allowed us to show this to all of our listeners here at What Happened When. This was terrific. It's one of the best wrestling shows that we've reviewed here on the program. I know Tony had a blast. Our fans had a blast. I did too. And I hope you and Super Dragon are proud of the legacy that you guys leave behind, because even though it's not running every week, like, the impact of Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is far-reaching and immense, and I'm glad that we were able to talk about it and celebrate it a little bit tonight.
No, thank you guys for thank you for saying that, but also for giving PWG the platform to a lot of people that may have never seen it before, because it is something that was so influential to what is happening today, not just in AEW but in WWE, and actually New Japan, CMLL. I mean, there's guys that Bandito, Hologram, guys that work for us in AEW, that they saw the clips online and they said, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do. I don't want to wrestle in Mexico, I want to wrestle in the US, I want to wrestle for PWG. That type of attitude permeates all of professional wrestling. And it's I don't want to speak for Super Dragon. I hope he feels the same way, but he's his own man, and he could speak when and where he wants to. But for me, it's incredibly gratifying, and it just makes what I'm lucky enough to do on a weekly basis all that much more special.
Tony Schiavone, I can't thank you enough for helping line this up. This was fantastic. We had a blast, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Tony. If and when PWG comes back, will you join me at a show?
Of course I will. Absolutely I will. If I can get in.
Remember, no comps, Tony.
That's right. No comps. Conrad, you're paying.
No problem. But right now, Tony, it looks like it's about that time.
It certainly is about that time, guys. And wait, somebody, I'm getting somebody in my ear here. Hold on.
How often do you talk to Tony Khan during these broadcasts?
No, just watch the match, dude.
I am watching. Dude, I'm calling the friggin' match. Oh, tell me watch the match. I'm calling it. Watch the match, dude. Kiss my ass, dude. Piss me off now. Dude, me. Byron, show over Excalibur, wear you out. Got me hot now.
You get a knee replacement first before you jump over me?
I have adrenaline. It hurts, though.
Well, so does John Moxley.
Oh, that was a great
He's going to need.
Damn it, Schiavone. Don't do that to me.
Well, you have been listening to What Happened Wins. On Wednesday, we come to you on the Libsyn Podcast Network. But on Mondays, we come to you ad-free and exclusively on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com.
Watch the match, dude. Kiss my ass, dude.
Hey, just in time for the holidays, what if you didn't have to worry about any of that credit card debt? If you're feeling stuck making the minimum payments and you don't want to have to put Christmas on a credit card, we can help at savewithconrad.com. We routinely help our listeners save hundreds of dollars a month. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com.